So Nick Freitas, former Green Beret, Virginia state legislator, those videos where he says something, it's just like an absolute banger, and then he's sipping from one of his mugs with some funny statement on it. So he's got a massively viral video, what they don't tell fathers about raising sons. We're going to talk about it. Here are some of my biggest takeaways from it that I'll just read right out the gate here. First one. A son learns manhood by watching his father love his mother.
If you properly love, honor, respect, protect, and provide for his mother, you are showing him what a father does. You are creating a standard that will inform his own expectations and a sense of responsibility, and they pick up on it very young.
Second one, fatherhood requires a transfer of influence from mother to father.
He was now entering an age and a world where his actions were going to expand beyond that of his mother, his father, and his two sisters. Work had to take place so that he could begin to understand what was expected of him, because adolescence is confusing.
A son needs to earn his father's respect.
Your son should know that you love him, but past this point, it's your respect that he desires. And he will know that while the love can be given, the respect he will have to earn.
We got spirit, and I know you hear it. There's no give up, give up, give up, give up in us.
What are y'all's thoughts on that?
Well, the one that slapped the hardest was the earning respect versus given. So it's like, yeah, love can be unconditional, but respect is something that a man earns. And he wants to earn it from his dad.
Yeah.
And that's powerful, especially in like this era of gentle parenting we've talked about before, right? Boys and young men, they want to be respected even more than they want to feel love, especially as they get older. They want to feel respect. And the ultimate respect for a man is to be respected by other men. Mm-hmm. And the ultimate man that you want to be respected by is your dad. Mm-hmm. And so like I just like just that concept to me is really powerful. And then I guess like my question for you guys is like, how do we think about that? Like my son's 7 right now, but how do we think about that and like giving him a chance to earn my respect?
Yeah. Your love is unconditional.
Yeah.
But your respect is earned. Mm-hmm. And yeah, how do you, I guess it starts with like making it clear what that looks like. Like what is the path to my respect?
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And I'm sure that, that's character. That's that there are, ways that I want to see you treating people. There are ways that I see you wanting to see you interacting with this family. There are, that, and making it clear and explicit what that is, I think is a big part of it.
I think one of the things I'm trying to do, my son is, my boys are age 2 and 2 months. So, it's very new. But one of the things I want to do is, as we're interacting in life, I want to highlight men that I respect or things that men have done that I respect. And I want to highlight that for Josiah and Ezra, and if the Lord would give us any more boys. Man, you see when that guy did that? And I've been doing this a little bit with our daughter, Letty, who's 4, and just anytime, like, so we were walking in the restaurant a couple of days ago, and someone held the door open for us, a guy, stranger, while he was leaving out, and we came in, I said, Letty, see how he held the door for us? Did you say thank you? And she yelled, thank you, and the guy was already gone by that point, but helping her realize, like, hey, what that guy did, that was good. That was a good choice, and we should be thankful for that. And so I want to even double down on that even more so as my boys get older, highlighting the things that I've seen in men specifically that are respect and go, I want to respect you. I want you to be this kind of man.
Defining what earns your respect for your son.
Yeah.
Like, and showing them like, hey, I think it's good for them to see who dad respects. Mm-hmm. Growing up, like who does dad look up to? We should.
That's right.
Like, I think that our culture, unfortunately, has like denigrated the concept of having heroes or like really kind of elevating people besides like certain celebrities. I guess they automatically get elevated, but like it's almost like we've kind of rejected like the idea of having an ideal to look up to. And I think there's actually a good thing about that. And like for our sons to see hey, this man has had a huge impact on daddy's life, the way that I think about this, the way that I care about these things, my discipline, because I've seen him be disciplined, like, and showing, it doesn't mean that we think that person's, infallible or without error, but I think it's a really healthy thing to have people that have men that we respect, that our sons know that this guy's been a role model for daddy, and here's why.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Something that I've heard both of you guys talk about, quoting Jeremy Pryor from Family Teams. One of the concepts that I've know Pryor has taught quite a bit is the importance that we're always training our kid. Like life is training, and so it's just so easy to go in autopilot. In so many ways, it's easy to go in autopilot, but like looking for opportunities. So a couple days ago, we're driving, we get to a red light, and I see some fire. There was a fire truck. And they're doing. And I stop and say, "Hey, Letty, see those firemen? And they're helping in that building." Man, she goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Fire people are great. They help us a lot. We should be thankful. Thank God." She goes, "Oh, thank you, God, for firemen." And just sort of like, but just like, it's actually easier than I think maybe we make it out to be. In some ways, it's harder, certainly, but in some ways, it's actually easier. And I think Pryor does a good job of articulating that. And just like, it's just we're always on, and there's always opportunities to pause and just. Like examine the world we're in and highlight the things that are respectable. And
one of the important things about that concept of training is recognizing that it's proactive versus reactive. So like we did a segment recently on discipline, usually a reactive thing, and you can proactively interweave discipline into your life. But when you're responding with punishment, it's reactive typically. Whereas training is like, it's a proactive thing. And so when we're like looking for, okay, what's the ideal that I want my son to aspire to? I'm gonna show him that ideal. I'm gonna try to model that ideal myself, and I'm also gonna show him examples of that ideal and proactively train my son in the values and the practices and the disciplines that aspire to that ideal. Really healthy thing.
Yeah, it's really good.
There's one that he talked about here. Fatherhood requires a transfer of influence from mother to father. Have you experienced that yet?
Big time.
Yet with a 6 and a 7-year-old?
Big time. Yeah.
Was there like a moment?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a moment, but like I felt that with my son. Like they were just like inseparable, mom and son. He was our firstborn. And my wife kind of like laments it in a in a funny way, but like there has been a point in time where he's attached himself like more to dad, and I think that's actually a very healthy thing for young men to do, for boys to do, and we should be like, as dads, I think we should be like shepherding their heart in a way where like that can happen and it should happen, and like they still get like a son and a daughter, but a son needs the tender, nurturing care of their mom, and they need like the masculine from their dad, right? And it doesn't mean that we like don't have a tender and nurturing side too. We do, but like they need us to play that role of masculine and bring the masculine energy. And there's something that I've just experienced with my son of like, boys are naturally drawn to that. They're naturally drawn to the rambunctious, wrestling. They're naturally drawn to like fighting and fighting for good, like showing them how we're gonna like do something that's actually like it's a battle in some way. We like war. They like reading about these things. They like watching war movies with dad. Like even, that may be like a great example of like when we started watching like like action type movies and shows. Like that was such a bonding experience for us, and I think that's really important for boys to experience. And I haven't thought of it that way, like a transfer of influence, but it is. And I think that's healthy. And it's not to say like they shouldn't still have like a deep connection with their mother.
Right.
Super, super important. But in order for them to become the man that they need to be, like there does need to be that type of transfer.
So I know that in some Christian circles, Andy Stanley is not, he's fallen out of favor, but he wrote a book that was on parenting, and that's where we took the two rules in our house from. And he talks about the 2 rules in his house: honor your mom and never tell a lie. Okay. And those really resonated with us. And when he talks about that rule of honoring your mom, he's like, as the father, when you are setting the standard for that rule in your home, by you basically leading with, you're going to honor your mom, the benefit of that, or the unspoken benefit of that, is like the respect that comes along with being a man that's going to stand up for the honoring of his bride.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think in this like kind of modeling of what does, like, how do you model this kind of stuff? That's one thing I've found is, like, I don't know, something rises up in me whenever I have to like communicate with Jackson like with a heavy hand. Like, that was not honoring mom. Like, you honor mom. We honor mom in this house. And in that, I think there's as he gets older, hopefully that will be a battle that we fight together.
That's right.
So Jeremy Pryor also talks a lot about honor culture, and like how like we have to be intentional as men to cultivate a culture of honor in our home, and it starts with the way we honor our wife and mom. So the motherhood. And creating like just this high honor culture. And then it extends to also dad, of course, but also the siblings, like siblings actually honoring each other. But it's kind of a lost art. And back to the ideal, it's like used to, we had an ideal back in the day, even though as Americans, and for me personally, it's still really tough to think about like these royal families that got honor just by virtue of their birth. But at least it was something that, like, you look at these other cultures, like they were the ideal. Like you look at like the king, queen, and princes and princesses, like there was an ideal for what the family looked like in terms of a ruling family. And the honor that was embedded into those cultures, it was so different, so high. And it's like we need to actually bring some of that honor culture back. And so one of his other points around, like, he basically he watches the way we interact with our wife, you know, and with his mom. It's like that old adage, so much more is caught than taught.
Yeah.
Like that is like the perfect like application for that. Is they see the way we speak to our wives, they see the way we interact with our wives, they see like, yeah, we're supposed to lead our families, but do we just kind of push our wives to the side and discount them or discredit our sons pick up on that stuff versus like, are we truly valuing, are we cherishing them, are we treasuring them, are we honoring them for everything they bring to our family? And that is caught versus taught typically.
One practical thing I learned from a man in my life in my 20s, that when he's talking to a child, I've not had to do this yet. My kids are young enough, but if a kid is disrespectful to your wife, actually don't refer to your wife as mama, as your mother. When it's really disrespectful, you say, "You're being disrespectful to my wife. That's my wife. That's my bride. How dare you do something to someone that I care about?" Because sometimes when you say your mama, it'd be like, well, it's she belongs to you. You could do what you want. But no, before she was your mama, she was my wife. And he would say he would do that with his boys. And he said it only happened a handful of times. He was raising teenage boys. He said, but it would snap them into. He was like, it would make it very clear, you're my son, but the moment you disrespect my wife, now you're just a dude disrespecting my wife. And that will not go well for you. Like, there's a firmness. Yeah. And he said, well, with one of his boys, he did it once when his boy was like 10 or 11. He said he never once had to go into that mode again. But there's this sense of, this is my wife. And he's like, and he's noticed with his boys that are now older and married, how incredibly honoring they are of their wives, and they will credit it back to how he treated his bride.
Brilliant. Yeah. Lex talks about that with her dad. Like he would say that, he's like, don't talk to my wife that way. And it just like shook her up. And it also sent the signal of, I love that message of like, hey, this was my wife before it was your mom. But like it sent the signal of like, we are on the same team.
That's
like,
right.
Like me and mom are on the same team. And yeah, we love you, but it's actually really important, I think, in terms of, as you think about raising sons, it's really important that we remember the right order of like our like love first. They need to see that we are allegiant first to their mom, our wife, and then to the kids. I think a lot of families, like, we reverse that order and everything's about the kid, and that's not healthy for them, actually.
Yeah. This idea of boys maturing through challenge and not comfort. I think I'm going to struggle with this because I have a tendency to, just not, I don't, it's not my first thought to think about how can I challenge JJ. What are some things that you guys have done to Or and maybe yours aren't even old enough for this to even be
I have a live
applicable.
example now. So he's doing a entrepreneurship kind of like project in his co-op, so starting some type of business, and so he's brainstorming now as to like what's going to be the best thing, right? And they're going to have a day where they get to actually sell their goods or service, I guess. And so he has a whole list of things that he's going through, and he's so into it. It's amazing, right? And like I really am trying to walk a tightrope of like being an advisor, but also like letting him make decisions and like figure things out, because I do think it's important. Like you want your kids to be able to experience failure, but also like if you can teach them on the front end how to avoid failure, that's actually a healthy thing and a healthier thing. So like I'm trying to be like, hey, I don't want him to just run with some crazy idea that is not going to sell anything, right? Because that's going to be pretty defeating, and he'll learn something from it, yes, but like I think he's actually going to learn more from getting some feedback in that process, like not letting me drive it per se, but like letting him say, okay, hey, this is an idea of you could make crepes. And you have to go. We're going to have to buy a crepe maker, and then we'll have maybe 2 of those. How many of those do you think you can sell? Like actually walking them through the process of like, how many crepes could you sell? Well, what if you had cups of hot chocolate instead? Like, how many of those do you think you could sell? Do you think that would be like easier? And do you think those would be like, how much do you think it would cost to make this versus that? And just like getting him to think through this stuff on the front end. So it's like it's not doing his work for him, right? But it's also like it is challenging him to think. And then not just letting him completely out there to like fall on his face.
Yeah.
Because I think that's self-defeating in some ways. You can learn from it, yes, but I think you can learn more from actually incorporating wisdom on the front end too. So like that's something we're going through right now.
Very good.
That's good.
One of the things I think that women can be helpful to, so if any women watching this, or if husbands want to forward this to their wives, is that I think I see this sometimes in American culture. There's this. There's a trope that dads are dumb, that dads are aloof, and maybe sometimes for good reason that stereotype exists. There are things that men struggle with that kind of feed to those stereotypes. There's this well-known episode of Bluey where Bluey's dad takes him to the pool, and mom wasn't there and forgets all the things, like forgets the sunscreen, forgets the floaties, forgets the fun that they have is like limited because they don't have all the stuff that mom would remember, and dad's a dummy and is. And so like, well, it's funny, and maybe to some extent there's some truth in that. We want to be careful to not reinforce the trope or the stereotype that dads are dumb, that dads are dope. Sorry, Michael.
Very much the Homer Simpson stereotype is alive and well.
And so moms have a strategic role to play in that you can help fight and push back on that by the way you talk about dad, by honoring dad in the home, esteeming dad. Something Milena has been doing kind of recent, which has been really sweet, is that if I've been out of the house a full day and I'm walking into the house late in the afternoon or whenever I'm getting home, when I walk in, I've heard Milena say from the other room, daddy's home, go say hi to dad, like go cheer. Like this is a big deal that dad's home. And Josiah, my boy, he's the best. Like he just runs around the corner and just screams, Dad! He just, it's like melts your heart, right? And he just gives me a big hug. But like Milena is like kind of cultivating, like dad's home. This is a big deal. Whatever we're doing, we stop. We pause the movie. We stop the activity because dad's a big deal. Dad, the way Milena talks about me, she's like, when Letty destroys a toy, breaks a toy, Milena will say things like, hey, dad works really hard so we can have money to buy you toys. We're eating dinner. Dad works really hard to provide for us, and we have food because dad works hard. It's disrespectful to dad to not eat your food. And like those kinds of things, tying their occasional bad choices, maybe not so occasional, maybe more frequent, tying that and esteeming and honoring, respecting me. And so she's cultivating that transfer. She's recognizing how important that's going to be. That's really good. And wants to reinforce that.
And we as dads doing the same for mom too. Right. Like, because we want our sons to also see like, we don't take our wives for granted. And like all the work that they put into the little things, even that's a part of honor culture, and it goes both ways. I love that. I'm also thinking, as you're talking about tropes, I heard this the other day too. It's like, what do men aspire to? So like if you think of The Office, right? That great cultural phenomena, that show, The Office. It's like, would most guys like who do they identify the most with on that show typically? I'm forgetting his name.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen The Office?
Sorry, I'm totally out on this.
I don't
one.
watch
Jim.
The Office either.
You've
Jim.
never seen The Office? So Jim.
I mean, I know
Office,
the
right?
characters, but
So Jim is the funny guy. He's the guy who like, kind of just sits back. He's very passive, like lays low when he needs to, doesn't really like stand up or lead. And the trope is the boss. Like it is the guy that's supposed to be leading, right? It's the massive trope. And it's like, man, so much of modern like man in our society, it's like we denigrate the man in the arena so much. Like we actually value the guy who's like taking the pot shots and being more like passive and like that's the cool guy, right? And it's like when it comes to what we're teaching our sons and what the ideal is, it's like, yeah, dad's not the trope who's absent and absent-minded and stupid, but also like we want to model like what does it mean to lead and like give them an ideal that the culture that's countercultural basically.
legacy is the continuation of courage across generations. You and I, Blake, have been a part of Integrated, which is part of family teams, and they talk a lot about this idea of like building a multi-generational team on mission, as opposed to, the modern, even Christian family in the West has become so much of this nest mentality. We raise up our kids in this nest environment. They turn 18, they're out, as opposed to crafting a mission that your family is on, and you are building a family team focused on that mission that is continues to be pursued long after they're 18. That resonated deeply with me as I went through, as I've just gotten more and more involved with family teams and with Jeremy and Jeff. What part of this stands out to you when you think of this idea that legacy is the continuation of courage across generations?
That life is not a single player game, and it's like something that's very like anti-American, for as pro-American as I am. Like there's some values that have been associated with American identity that we are very individualistic, and it's just the waters that we swim in. So like you said before, it's like the American dream, it is so individualistic. It's like everyone, like we don't have to define the American dream, but if we did, it would be some version of, you do well in school, you go off to college, you get married, eventually you have your 1.9 kids, eventually, and then you get them off the empty nester, like you launch them out of the nest, and then you really get to enjoy your life if you worked hard enough, and you get to do whatever you want and appease your pleasure based on your life. And it's like it's a painful existence. That's just such a futile existence. And like life was not meant to be played a single player in that way and to be valued in that way. When we reorient that, hey, we're actually like, and it starts with us like showing them what have we descended from? Like what's the lineage that we are trying to pay honor to as well. And then like let's say it's hard for you to do because you don't necessarily have like a godly lineage behind you. You get to be the Abraham. That's the coolest thing. Like either you're an Isaac, and so like my dad, for me personally, my dad was the Abraham. He had and we had other good men before us, but my dad was the first one in recent history at least to really take his faith seriously and disciple his kids. And I get to be a beneficiary of that, and I get to give honor up to my kids now, so they see the honor that I give my dad. And then they see that, hey, this is a multi-generational mission that we're on as a family. And the more clarity we've gotten around like, okay, how would we articulate that mission so we can invite our kids into it and our sons into it as like, you're a father that's going to bear this name. And this is what it means to raise. This is one thing I thought was so transformational for me is to stop thinking about, I want to raise good humans. Actually, I want to raise good fathers and good mothers. And that's how you don't create like what Jeremy Pryor would call like the terminal generation, where it's like every generation pretty much we kind of restart a new family. When you start to like think about, oh, what's our vision for the next 100 years for our family? And then how do I make sure I'm raising not just good humans, but really equipped fathers and mothers that can steward that vision with their kids and with their grandkids? It's really powerful. So helping your son see that, and how am I honoring up the line, but also what's our vision for the future going forward? It's been really transformational for us too.
It's really good.
What are your thoughts, Kenny?
When I think about, legacy, my family, frankly, is had a lot of dysfunction, and so hard to. I don't know that I put myself in the categories of Abraham. I feel disrespectful to Abraham, but I guess that's the role I'm playing. And God has been kind to give me some great men to teach me some things. And so I think that the intentionality piece, Jeremy Pryor, I've heard this from others as well throughout the years, of what you just said. Like, I'm not just raising a human. I'm raising a future dad, a future voter in America democracy, a future entrepreneur or XYD, whatever he's going to do. And so there are specific things that I want to tie the things we're doing with our kids. And so I've not done this a lot with our daughter. My wife has done a little bit with our daughter of hey, one day you're going to be a mom. And it was weird at first when I heard her say it. And I was like, Bert? She was 3. I'm like, that's such a strange thing to think about. And I remember Letty, when my wife was pregnant a couple months ago with our most recent, Letty put something under her stomach, and she's like, "Oh, look, I have a baby." And it's just oh yeah, one day she's going to be a baby in that womb, in all likelihood, Lord willing. And there are things that now we can do. And so just tying it. So if you have sons, saying, when are you going to be a dad? And so I've heard of dads doing things like, hey, I'm going to prepare our family devotions, and bringing one of his sons into a room with just him, hey, I'm preparing our family devotion. Let me give you a kind of a behind the scenes of how I do this. Mm-hmm. And then when we go, and now he's experiencing, but I've given him behind the scenes because I want him to know Dad had to just do this because Dad is special or better than you. Any man can do this with the right effort and attitude. Mm-hmm. And I want you to, from a very young age, to begin to have this attitude and effort. So legacy is just a matter of you can train guys. I mean, I think about Tiger Woods. This is probably the best example I've seen of a father who basically said, I want my son to be this. And that son became that thing. He's like, my goal is for my son to be the greatest golfer that's ever lived. You know what? He pretty close did that.
The Kennedys, right?
Joseph Kennedy
talks about the Kennedys in the same.
I want one of my sons to be president.
It's the power of a clear vision.
Yeah.
And what's the term for that? The world hates it. They hate this term right now.
Patriarchy. That's right.
Patriarch. And so patriarchy is kind of made up. It's a more modern term, but patriarch is not a bad thing. We should aspire to be a patriarch in the same way that Abraham was a patriarch. And what it means is having vision for your family and leading your family. And you, in order to we part of, I think, the problem where again, our society and our country's gotten to the point that we've gotten today is that we have been so individualistic and short-term in our thinking.
That's right.
So we're not thinking about the future generation. We're not making decisions with the future generations in mind. And how many of us at our age are thinking about our grandkids? It's a very foreign concept, right? To be thinking about that, right? But imagine how much better the world would be if we were all thinking about our grandkids. And so
it changes the paradigm of how you think about parenting when you're parenting for your grandkids, as opposed to so often can become the coddling of your kids because you want what's in their best interest. But I think I heard Pryor talking about this. It's you are parenting in the best interest of your grandchildren.
Yeah.
And so how do I need to mold and shape this tiny person to be the best mom or father of my grandchild? It's just a very interesting and different way of thinking about it.
You mentioned a moment ago the short-term nature of it, and you're like, I actually heard a comedian, a comedian was not a clean comedian, and so I only saw a clip. It was a reel. I didn't watch the whole thing. I want to make that very clear. But I saw this clip from a comedian, and I thought it was really funny. The comedian was saying everyone says I want to have a baby. We're gonna have a baby, or we're having a baby, or we're trying to have a baby. It's baby, baby, baby. She's like. It's only a baby for this long, and then it's just some dude named Doug. It's but she was saying people want to have a baby, and then once the baby's no longer a baby, people are like, oh, I have baby fever. They want to have another baby because the baby phase is what is loved and idolized in so many ways, in an unhealthy way sometimes. You're like, no. The baby is only a baby this long. But then for a long time, it's Doug. And like, what is Doug going to be like? And like, she was making it as a joke. But it actually, when I watched it, it like struck me as like, oh my goodness, I got to be thinking about not JoJo, my 2-year-old, but Josiah David, who will be a 40-year-old dad one day.
Yeah.
And like, oh goodness, what I do today plays ripple effects into that.
And the coolest thing that I've seen from those wiser and more advanced in their parenting journey than me has been the realization that parenting doesn't stop when they turn 18.
Yeah.
Like you're still parenting into their 40s, 50s. As long as you're alive, you're still like, they still need a parent. Mm-hmm. And the beauty of like having vision for your family and having like a shared mission that you can invite them to be part of and that you make attractive for them to be part of, whether that's like, hey, we're like, you have a higher picture kingdom mission. And then like, so for us, like a big part of our mission is we want to bless our community and our nation. It's a big part of it for us. We want to build things that matter, entrepreneurship or building ministries and things like that matter. And we want to help equip gospel-driven families. Like those are like the 3 anchors. And then we have some values that we base those things around. But our kids, we try to make it big enough and attractive enough for them to want to play a part in that, right? Yeah, and to bring their own individuality, because like it's not a death to the individual, but it is inviting them into purpose, into like, imagine like we've stopped doing that in today's day and age. We do not like build things with our family anymore. Used to like the economic activity of a household, it actually revolved in the household, not outside of the household. And so it's like, imagine like whether it's an economic asset that you're building, a business that you're building, or if it's a mission or a cause that you're just like inviting your kids into, working on something together is critical. So like the families that have done this well, the ones that like, if you look at the charts of how much time fathers or mothers spend with their kids, it's like, it's at the highest before they go off to school. Most people send their kids off to school if they're not homeschooling, right? At the highest when they're little, and they go off to school, like, you know, they're seeing them for maybe 4 hours of the waking day, maybe. And then after they go off to college, it just drops off a cliff. Drops off a cliff, especially if they don't end up living together. And again, on average, it just drops off a cliff. You see them maybe, a lot of times you see them maybe 3 or 4 times a year for holidays and things like that. The families that do it counterculturally, though, not only are they doing education differently in those formative years, spending a ton of time with them in the formative years, they're also spending like exponentially more time compared to the rest of the world with them in their adult years. Yeah. Because they're working on something together. Like they're actually building something together, whether it's a business again or ministry, and they've designed their life in a way with their grandkids in mind. Yeah. It's like, for me, I want to design my life. I want to optimize it for the highest chance for me to be around my grandkids and to work with my grandkids, to pour into my grandkids. And so if we start thinking that way now, it starts to influence like the decisions that we make as fathers even now. Yeah.
I think there's a belief amongst Christians and non-Christians. Whenever I heard Jeremy Pryor's son get on stage at the Family Teams event that they did in Claremont and talk about how when he went to college, or I forget if he went to trade school or college, he was surrounded by peers whose fathers did not cast vision. And because of a lack of that vision, these young men felt like they were aimless. They had no, like, there was, and that's where I think like this idea of individualism, we have this idealistic view of like, oh, but they get to choose and they're gonna live into what, you know, whatever they want to pursue. And hearing it from Jeremy's son, it's like, all my friends were crippled. They didn't want to make that choice. It was forced upon them to have to like swim in this sea of like what seems like endless choices and like, I could do this and I can do that, as opposed to Jeremy's son, who was raised with like a very clear vision for what their family was about. It was, you know, a family about building things and about making disciples and about, and to see like the kind of clarity that his son had. His son now has a business. Jeremy helps him with that business, is involved in that business. I think one of the brother-in-laws is in that business. And I just think like what a blessing it is to invite our kids into that mission, not just with our words, but actually like physically making them a part of it, creating that time that's so necessary for us to actually, like, to set us up to actually influence our kids.
And the beauty of the imagery of a team, like, it's really easy for guys to think about sports teams, right? Think about a great coach, and that's the role of the dad. Like, we should be a great coach to our family team.
Yeah.
Think about a great coach that has an assortment of players on that team, individuals that have the unique giftings, unique interests. What does a great coach do? They get them to buy in to the team and to the vision. You're casting a vision for that team. They're bought in, and it's the beautiful thing when it's done great. It's not a loss of individualism. Actually, it's not a loss of your individual giftings, your individual passions, your individual interests. It actually it's an assembly of those individual interests towards something that's bigger than yourself. And don't we all want that? Yeah. We all want to be a part of something that's bigger than self.
You see your contribution as something that strengthens something bigger than you.
That's right.
That's intoxicating.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily just dad's vision. That's the other thing, like a patriarch. Yes, like God may download something to you that puts on your heart that you're going to lead your family this way. But it's also like dad should be leading that and architecting that. But mom, like one of the best things we did was the offsite, right? Like where we actually got time to, like, just like an organization thinks about mission, vision, values, to actually think about that for your family. What's my family's mission? What's our vision? What's our values?
Quarterly.
And revisiting that quarterly. But it's not just like it comes out of dad's head, right? Like mom's influencing it. Your kids, maybe in the beginning, they aren't able to really influence that, but the older they get, they're helping shape and refine and articulate that maybe in new ways. So it's a beautiful thing when you can invite your kids into something that is bigger than self, give them purpose, give them identity.
We wrestled with, like, what is our family's mission for, it was probably a couple years, because that nuance of, like, I'm very personally passionate about the foster care system, and I think the generational impact that Christians can have on society by engaging these kids that come from very hard situations, and then what that teaches our biological kids about how we love and care for people, and the perspective of, like, hey, not all kids come from an environment like what you're in.
That's right.
There's so many multifaceted, but so I was originally thinking our family mission was going to be very centric on foster care. My wife is not as passionate about foster care as I am. She is now very engaged in it, and it has been incredible seeing her kind of step in and really advocate for currently our current foster child. She's really having to step in and advocate, and, like, seeing that kind of, like, ferociousness in her to be a fierce advocate for this child who comes from a very vulnerable situation has just grown my heart and love toward her in a pretty significant way.
That's amazing.
But it's crafting the family mission, and it's like, well, this is something I'm really passionate about. She's really passionate about the environment, and, like, obviously dedicating a career to animal conservation and that sort of thing. And so coming up with this was a challenge for us. And so anybody listening to this going, like, oh, this is big. Yeah. It does not need to be solved in a weekend or in a single offsite. Like, where we ultimately landed, I loved hearing examples. I love that you shared, like, the pillars of how you structured yours. For ours, it's we want to, our family wants to inspire people to pursue Jesus, family, and growth. And then we actually structured our core values. Or is it called a Gnostic? There's like several words.
Acrostic. There you go.
So we've got an acrostic for growth that is our family values. And so talk about Jesus, family, and growth as part of our mission, and inspiring people through that. This show is actually, like, us facilitating and making the show happen as a part of inspiring people to pursue Jesus and family and growth. We're going to talk about that too. But generosity, restoration, both of our environment and ourselves, ownership, wonder. So, like, how we want our family to be curious about people and things, and then team and hospitality. And so that's how we can kind of put some structure around kind of bringing what we're talking about here at a high level around this, like, legacy, and, like, it's spanning across generations. I think having some tools like this and some ways of going about it, like, I love that you structured yours, and, like, we have these pillars, and then we have values surrounding that. There's no one way to do any of this stuff. But it was super helpful for me, and so that's why I share that. Not to say, like, we've got it all figured out by any means.
But how cool is it, back to like raising sons, for JJ, your JJ, to have that type of intentionality built in?
Yeah.
where you're thinking about like, okay, what's the vision that I want to give my son? What do I want to invite him into?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that it might not, like the way that it like plays itself out might look different in certain seasons, but it's so identity building for sons to have a dad that has a vision for his family.
Yeah.
We got spirit, and I know you hear it. There's no give up, give up, give up, give up in us.